This video today is from the Groomer's Edge, and for anyone who owns or has or works with clipper blades. Something you should know how to do is to adjust and set the tension on your clipper blades, because a lot of times you'll be using a clipper blade and they will all of a sudden stop cutting. And so today I just want to show you how to adjust them and how to set the tension, so you know how to do this for yourself. It'll save you a lot of headaches when you're grooming your pets. So a few of the tools you're going to need is a straight tip screwdriver, a pair of pliers, a Phillips screwdriver, and if you have one, some kitchen scales. So here you see a clipper blade. I want you to take note on how it's adjusted, noting how the cutter blade, the smaller blade, is set behind the comb blade. See how the teeth are set behind that? It's hard to see in the camera, but just take a look at one before you take it apart. And also too, back here, the back rail of your comb blade and your cutter blade is lined up with the back rail. That's one thing you're going to want to be able to do when you go back to putting these back together. So I'm going to hand the camera off to my helper here and show you how to set the tension and put one of these back together. Alright, here I have one that's taken apart. So here you see a spring. Trying to get it in the light so you can see it. The thing you want to do is take your pair of pliers and see how I crimp this little curved part here. You want to put a little bit of tension with your pair of pliers, just a little bit, to set the tension. You do it on both sides. It's hard to see and do this in the camera, but I just want you to see that. That's how you set the tension on your spring. That, when you crimp that together, that puts more tension onto your blades. Here, this next step is something that people will never tell you, but is very important. You want to lay your spring down flat on a surface and make sure that along here is laying flat on the table. If it's whopper-jawed or crooked at all, you're not putting even tension across here on your cutting blade. So the way you adjust it is just move these tabs up or down, these back sides up or down accordingly to make this straight when you lay it flat on a surface. You may have to play with it a little bit, but make sure this is nice and flat when you get done adjusting that. Then the next thing you want to do is reassemble your clipper blade. So you just lay this together like this, and you begin to put your screws back in. You just make them a little bit snug. You don't want to tighten these down. And then what you want to do is you want to get your back rail lined up. So you just tap on here a little bit till you get it to where you want it, and then you tighten your screw. You may have to go back and forth at this a couple times until you get these right. But when you're done, you want it to look like your original, where you're square on the back here with this back rail, and then your comb blade is set back behind the comb teeth, because if they're hanging over, your blade will not cut. And then how you know if your tension is right is you slide your cutter out like this, and you come up to your kitchen scales and you push down. Notice how the weight is increasing. When that snaps, that tells you what your tension is. So you see there, the poundage there was only 2 pounds. You want your poundage about 3 pounds. It's between 3 to 4 pounds. If it's not that high, then your blades are not going to cut. The tension is too low. This was 2 pounds, so it's not going to cut. If it's over 4 pounds, it's going to burn and wear, have a lot of friction. Your clipper blade is going to run hot. So the way you adjust these, if you're over 4 pounds, is you take and you put your screwdriver right in here and gently pry up just a little bit. Don't do this with a ceramic blade or you'll break them. Okay, make that very clear to you. Do not do this step with a ceramic blade or you'll break them. But if your tension is too tight, you can just pry them up a little bit like that, and that releases the tension. If you take too much tension off, then you'll have to take it back apart and reapply the tension as I showed you earlier. So this is just a little tip on how you can adjust your own. If you don't have a kitchen scale, if you see here how I can really easily move this cutter blade, that can tell you that your tension's not tight enough. If it's too hard and it's hurting your finger and you can barely move it, your tension's too hard. You want it to be so that when you move it, you can tell it has a fair amount of tension on it, but it's not so hard that you can barely move it. So that's just a tip on show you how to set your tension, how to adjust your clipper blades, and should help you, save you a lot of headaches in your shop. Thanks.